So you know how you guys always are talking about your podcast that you like, your Smart List podcast and whatever, and you're always talking about those.
Yeah.
I finally have a podcast that isn't a hockey podcast that I actually enjoy listening to.
Oh, do tell.
It's called the Bread Basket Podcast.
The Bread Basket podcast. What is it about?
It's these two brothers who I found on Instagram who just like play games and do stuff. And I don't even know how to explain it. Some of the games are just them playing like 20 questions with each other or playing like Instagram filter games, but they're getting very creative with some of their stuff and I love it. And sometimes they'll do like sports challenges or whatever, but that's just for their Instagram. And they started a podcast. And in this podcast, they just talk about weird stuff. Like
Mm.
for example, they played a game where they were trying to see who could get someone on the phone on a random number that they were going to call and get them to say a certain code word. They assigned one person assigned the other person the word squirt gun. So they had to call a random number and try to get them to say the word squirt gun. And they assigned the other person, they weren't able to. And then they assigned the other person the word carrots. So they had to try to get the other person to say carrots, and they were on the phone for almost 4 minutes with this person, just trying to get them to say the word carrots.
And they wouldn't?
They wouldn't,
Or they
and it was
didn't?
great.
I
They
just pulled them
did
up as
finally after 4 minutes.
I just pulled them up on Instagram, and one of their pinned posts looks like they were talking to Nick Jonas.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So this isn't just like a couple of brothers having a good time. This is like they have like 581,000 followers.
Yeah,
Is that good?
I don't know.
Punch it to me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Colby Cast, where we dive into movies,
21 gigawatts!
TV,
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
and everything in between.
Well, I don't know how you get a podcast, but you should look into it.
I'm Colby, and I'm joined by my two awesome sons, Caleb
I don't know how to tie my shoes.
and Luke.
I never shut up.
Together, we're your friendly neighborhood pop culture nerds, here to share our thoughts on Star Wars, Marvel, the latest entertainment news, and maybe even some sports.
You believe in miracles? Yes!
So grab a piece of cake
Cake! Everybody loves cakes.
and find a comfy spot on the couch, because this is your place for community and conversation about pop culture and storytelling.
What an incredible smell you've discovered.
Okay, I need to ask permission to start this episode with a dad moment. Do I have permission?
Go ahead.
If you add to the sulk jar,
The sulk jar?
yeah,
We have that?
we do now.
No, I think you guys have given me another jar, but I don't remember what the jar is for.
Me
But
neither.
I'll gladly add to whatever jar I need to add to so I can have a dad moment. I just wanted to share with the two of you something that has been on my mind. And all seriousness and kidding aside, over the last, recently, we'll just say recently, the two of you, between school and work and hockey and life, just in general, the two of you have had some pretty interesting grown-up waters that you guys have been navigating, and like actual, life stuff, and not getting into details or whatever, but
I found out where babies come from.
thanks for
Is that
stepping
what
on my dad
Santa's,
moment.
this big old Santa thing is?
Look, we're not ruining anybody's preconceived notions about babies or Santas. But from my perspective, and I think I can speak confidently for mom too. We're proud of you guys. We're proud of you guys for the way that you guys are handling things. You guys are taking care of business, and we're proud of the two men that you're growing up to be. So, good job. Keep up the good work. And actually, the thing I am most proud of is that, and I mean this in all honesty, not even as a joke, you guys don't need to hear that we're proud of you because I know that you guys are proud of yourselves. And as a dad, that makes me super happy. So thank you for the great job you guys are doing in everything and also for making letting me have my dad moment. Keep up the good work. We're always here for you.
Snapping noises.
Thanks. Well, you've got something pretty excited for yourself too, huh?
What are you referring to?
Your
We're
final assignment in college.
we're putting you in a nursing home.
As long as it has a swimming pool, please. I'd like a swimming pool in the nursing home. Yeah, 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 Luke. I wasn't going to bring it up, but you brought it up, so I did. I turned in my final assignment for my undergraduate degree. I now have completed the work to have a bachelor's degree in history. The work is only half done because within a year or so, I hope to be a part of a master's program, and this is all in a effort to change careers as I'm getting close to my 50s. So that's always fun. But yeah, I did. I started this process a few years ago. This part of the process is over. I'm proud of myself, and I thank not just you guys, but mom as well, and everybody else that knows about this for all the support. Yeah, and thanks for bringing it up. So pretty cool. And you since we're giving each other flowers, you're starting university in a matter of weeks, transferring with your AA to work on your BA. So good job.
Yeah, it's not as exciting as being done with it.
Well, you will be done with it at some point. Just keep working hard, and of course, Caleb, you are killing it at your new job. That you're having your 2 to 3 hour commute. It's a little bit of exaggeration, but not too much, right?
Yeah, I mean, from the office to coaching and then here, I think I drive about 3 hours a day. I think that's about right. I think I drive almost 4 hours a day.
Yeah, you might, and that's not easy. So that's
No,
what I'm
it's fun.
talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You guys are taking care of business. You guys are doing great things, and keep it up. So you know, at the Colby Cast household, we just make things happen, don't we? So
Yeah.
one thing that we did make happen was recently we went to a Kings game, and that Kings game ended up being on Star Wars night. So that was fun. I had no idea it was going to be Star Wars night. All I know is that on Friday night, Caleb said, "You guys want to go to the Kings game tomorrow?" And I said, "Sure." And then we show up, and there's Star Wars stuff everywhere. It was fantastic. We missed you, Luke. We were sorry you couldn't make it.
Yeah, I don't remember what I was doing, but I was doing something.
You're having really, really good food.
Oh, yeah, I went to Hibachi.
Yeah, I've been to Hibachi once. It was pretty good. So the Kings won 4-1 on Star Wars night. That made it even better. They beat a very good team called the Minnesota Wild, and it was most likely Marc Andre Fleury's last appearance in Los Angeles, which meant some stuff to you, Caleb. You want to share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Flurry might not be the greatest at any specific thing. There's definitely arguments that could be made that there are other goalies that are better than him at X, Y, and Z, not even X, Y, or Z. But he's, I think, a really good example of why you should meet your heroes. I've never met him, but from what I've heard, he is nothing short of like the greatest human alive, playing at the top of his craft for almost 18 years, I believe. He's played forever. He's won gold medals, he's won Stanley Cups, and I've just always admired him because he always has like a literal giant smile on his face. It doesn't seem like he's ever too serious or takes himself too seriously. and because of that, that was the main motivation for wanting to go and see him play against my my favorite team, my homegrown team. Um, and
The
he's been
team that
around the
likes to
way
whip
now.
you emotionally.
What's that?
The team that likes to whip you emotionally.
Yeah, I still hate them, but that's okay. Um, but yeah, it was really cool. I think the Star Wars stuff was a added extra aspect, and it's always fun to go to Staples Center. It will always be Staples Center because I always run into people we know because the hockey world is a small world, and we actually got to see the Kobe and Gigi memorial. I didn't realize like it was available to the public now.
Yeah, that was a big. That's a big deal, huh? It's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's there's a statue right outside one of the entrances to the Staples, now known as the Crypto.com Arena, and it's Kobe and Gigi sitting next to each other, and they're sort of like enveloped by these like angels' wings, and it's really beautiful because it's up on a pedestal, and it's got like circular pedestals around them, and it's like got some grass, and it's just really beautiful. A nice tribute to both of them. And you mentioned um, running into people because hockey is number one, a small community. Number two, Southern California hockey is even smaller community. And as we were walking around the arena between the periods one and two, looking for my Wetzel's pretzel, which I had been belly aching about not having had for the longest time, and then other refreshments, we ran into two of the best people that I know, and I'm just going to give them a shout out right now. It's Shinya and Seiya Nakata, who are also Colby Cast listeners. We appreciate the fact that they listen to the Colby Cast. So, hello, guys. I talked to Shinya about this, and he's excited about what I'm going to share with everybody. I just wonder, Luke, if you could share your thoughts on Seiya, who is the goaltender of the team, one of the goaltenders of the team that we coach together on. So it's a team of 9 and 10 year olds, and Seiya is one of the goaltenders. So we ran into Shinya and Seiya in this Kings game, and I'm gonna share something that happened at the at that Kings game. But before that, Luke, talk to me a little bit and share your thoughts on Seiya Nakata, our goaltender.
Oh yeah, he's a living, breathing Energizer Bunny. The kid is always on 10. I've never seen the kid yawn before. I've never seen him bored. He's just always either amped up on sugar or whatever else
On
he's
life.
able to get his yeah. He's got his own natural sugar that he's getting. I don't think he's ever gonna have to drink caffeine in his entire life to stay awake, but um yeah, great family. Um super well disciplined family. They find the balance between having fun and working hard and knowing when to be serious and when to take it lightly, and I think that's such a rare thing for a kid at that age to be able to be 10 years old and be able to flip the switch between I'm going to have fun and mess around and be a kid versus okay, now I'm going to take this seriously and work hard. And that's a testament to the kind of parents that he has and the job they're doing with him.
It's one of the best things about coaching. It's meeting good people, and the Nakata family are incredibly good people, and I'm lucky to have gotten to know them. I know that you worked with both of them last season. I didn't have an opportunity to, but I'm really enjoying the opportunity to get to know them now. Caleb, you are also the goaltender coach for our club, so you are very much involved with Seiya and Shinya as well. I wondered if you could share your thoughts on the family.
Yeah, Shinya is my honorary assistant goalie coach because we will always be just around the rink or literally in the parking lot. And either I'm trying to leave or he's trying to leave, and we just run into each other and we always have really cool conversations just about like his perspective because before Seiya, they were just brand new to hockey, and He's learning on the fly as most of us do. Um, and he's just like he because I've been around the game and around the sport for so long, and that makes me sound so incredibly old, and I regret it immediately. Um, I just get so just fixated on certain aspects of like the position and expectations that I set and want to achieve and have these goalies achieve for their betterment and just for just overall goals that I set. Um, but having that extra perspective, especially as like a hockey parent, but also a new hockey parent. It's really fun to have, and he just seems like a student of the game. Just never has had an opportunity to strap on the pads. So we'll see if I can get him in gear someday. That'd be pretty fun to see. But Seiya being 9 years old, he's pretty advanced, but I won't talk him up too much because he'll get a really big head, and he already has a really big head. So and I mean that like physically, he's got a noggin on him, and he knows that too. Um, but they're a great family. I think it's a great thing to have, and it's important to have just good people around you in a tight knit community. You start to become the people you surround yourself with. So having that on a team of other kids his age for Seiya, and having someone like Shinya who's so just motivated and just eager to learn and not have any ego, just looking out for his son and looking out for honestly us at the same time is an awesome thing to have,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
when we're walking down the corridor of crypto.com looking for a pretzel and you just hear Caleb, and you just have to like look around like, oh my god, who is catching us right now? And it ends up being them.
So I have this audio that I want to share, but I also have the video, so I'm going to post it on Instagram. Shinya gave me the green light. He's good with sharing this, and I hope everybody enjoys it. But before I get to that, I wanted to ask you guys: do you have any idea what Seiya's favorite top three movies are? I mean, there's like a billion movies, so I'm not going to make you guess. But do you want to try to guess any of them?
Frozen 1, 2, and the upcoming third one.
No, not on the list. Caleb, got any guess?
um I feel like you're going to say something Star Wars. Am I right?
It's the top one. Star Wars is his favorite movie. So Shinya
uh
was, we were texting each other, and he was saying that every so often Seiya will go on this like he'll get in this binge watch mood, and he'll watch the original trilogy, and then I said that I just thought that was fantastic because he's 10 years old, and he's watching a movie made in 1977, and so he gave then Shinya gave me his favorite three movies. Seiya's favorite three movies. Star Wars is the first one. Back to the Future is the second one, and the third one is Home Alone 1 and 2. I'm like, this kid has fantastic taste in movies. It's amazing. It's
that's
great.
pretty cool.
But he's also extremely talented. So here's why we're talking about these wonderful people. Um, so at the Kings game, whenever the Kings go on the power play, the announcer just is this like super energetic guy who gets on the PA, this big booming sound system at the crypto.com arena, and says, "Get ready, fans, something to do. Their Kings are going on the blah 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 power play," and tries to get everybody riled up, right, and get the crowd going. So after we ran into Seiya and Shinya in the hallway, they found us in our seats, and they came up and they said hello again, and they sat in the row behind us. And Seiya did this about what, Caleb, you were there 50 times. So what you're about to hear is
There's more like 100 and different variations, but yeah, we'll go with 50.
so what you're about to hear is Seiya performing, I guess, really auditioning to be the new King's in-game entertainment announcer. Ready? Here we go.
Let's go, King Ribs! Get loud! And we're going on LA King Spectrum Power Play!
I never get tired of listening to that. So he put it up on his Instagram, and Shinya gave me the audio and the video. So I'm going to put that on Instagram so everybody can see that visually. But He did that like 100 times in the third period, and I was dying laughing. So anyway,
It was not
Kings, if you're
quite either.
listening, hire this kid. Give this kid a job. He's ready for prime time. What did you say, Caleb?
It was not quiet either. He wasn't doing it at a speaking volume. He was trying to match the volume of the PA itself.
I'm telling you, he matched the energy. Love it, love it. It's fantastic. Luke, aren't you proud of your goaltender?
Oh yeah, the one guy who doesn't need to talk on the ice is the loudest one.
It's amazing. Well, thank you, Nakata family, for being awesome people and letting us share this quick story. And keep up the good work. We love being a part of this big hockey family with each other. So, more fun stuff though, and this is the reason why we're here today, everybody. We want to talk about the movie, Christopher Nolan movie Interstellar. It recently was re-released into theaters for its 10-year anniversary, and we had the opportunity to go see it. Unfortunately, Luke was still busy that weekend, so Caleb and I got to go see it. But Luke, you had watched it recently, so we're here to give the Colby Cast treatment to the movie Interstellar. Caleb, you and I went down to the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
Yes, sir.
We got to see the movie in IMAX. Uh, we'll get to all of that, but I had never been to the Chinese theater. Had you?
Not inside, but I've been around it.
Yeah, I mean we've been by it a million times, but I had never seen a movie there. Luke, I remember if I remember correctly, you saw a movie at the TCL Chinese Theater.
Captain
Uh,
America: Civil War.
that's a good one to see. That's a good one to see. Yeah, but was it on the IMAX screen? Because I know they have other theaters.
He
They
was.
don't.
They don't.
No.
I thought they had a, but don't didn't they have like a theater with like the shaky seats and stuff?
That's what I was in.
But
At
that was the
at the
Chinese
Chinese
theater though,
theater?
right?
It had like the
Yeah.
moving
What?
seats and yeah, it was like vibrating and stuff, and it was kind of just distracting more than anything because this was back in what, like 2018, 2017.
So long ago.
Yeah, I remember thinking like this is cool. I would rather it didn't, but it was the first time I had ever been in a seat like that, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll just experience it.
So Caleb, the original one that the original one is the one we were in because we walked through the doors and immediately there's the snack bar. We go get my wild cherry icy, and then there are two doors that are either way to the right or to the left of the snack bar, and they go right into this massive theater. I think that's
Yeah.
the original one, and that's the IMAX screen. But they
Yes.
have other theaters that are like closer to the mall that they built that they like to call Hollywood and Highland. I think it's over in that area.
Okay.
But I think.
I'll believe you because we walked in and we were trying to figure out where we were going to sit, and we're like, where there's no signs for anything, where are we supposed to go? And then I asked the concession stand attendant, and she just looked at me like I was the dumbest person alive and goes just like, walk through the doors, it's one big theater. And I just wanted to crawl up inside myself and die.
And I don't know that I've thanked you for that because I know that you asked her because of my confusion. I mean, I was like, I don't know what theater to go to, and there was only one. But you're like, okay, I'll take care of my old man,
Yes.
and ask. So thank you for that. Yeah, the seats were cool. It wasn't like super fancy recliner seats, but they were rocking chairs, so I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
So it's
so
sort of
comfy.
cool. I mean, it's like a historical thing in like film and Hollywood. So, it's it's just there. So you always take it for granted. Like, we don't go to Hollywood a lot in the first place, but this was sort of a cool experience to see this movie in that theater. So,
For sure.
um,
Sometimes when I go to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, I drive by it just to say that I was there, but I'd never get out of my car.
You should
but you
start
did just
having
recently go
photo
there.
shoots. You should start having photo shoots and put your hands on the handprints.
I should start dressing up in costume and walking down Vineland and
We need to talk. We need to ask Luke. I'm gonna give you three pairs of people that we saw walking on Hollywood on the
Mm,
Walk of Fame. Are you ready?
mhm, mhm.
If you guess it, Dad can take his money out of the soul jar.
can I blindly guess?
Yes.
What do I get if I guess it right?
Dad will
A
take
bowl of
the.
Fruit Loops.
It is the world's largest bowl of Fruit Loops with marshmallows, by the way.
Mhm.
I'm gonna guess Luigi Mangione and the CEO of United Healthcare.
No,
No, I
no.
would say combo wise, that would be one. This would be two. I can give you
Okay.
options if you'd like.
Yeah, no. I need options because that was
Okay.
all my brain power.
Option one was not in like a Universal Studios type, but a costume of Toad and Mary Magdalene. Okay. Then the Pope and Bumblebee,
Who's
and
Mary
then
Magdalene?
so that's option two. The other one was option one,
Why
and
are you
then
laughing at me? I'm genuinely asking.
Mary Magdalene is from the Bible.
Oh,
Like
okay. Got it.
Jesus and Darth Vader.
I'm gonna go with Jesus and Darth Vader. That seems the
Jesus
most.
and Darth Vader were heckling people walking down the Walk of Fame.
Yeah.
we're standing right next to
Yeah,
each other,
and they
looking
were
for
they
photo ops.
uh Darth Vader had his helmet up, and they were just like talking mad about people who were stopping in the area and taking pictures of everything. Is like, you guys can see this online, and just like being
What?
the worst kinds of people. Like, you're there dressed up as things. How can you be acting like this?
This is Hollywood. This is Hollywood. And then on the way out of the theater, we wanted to take a picture of the poster that was outside in this nice display case. And there were two people that were like they were doing a Facebook Live or something. They were streaming maybe TikTok, making a TikTok or whatever. We couldn't take a picture of the poster, so we had to like walk around. And thankfully, there was another poster to take a picture of. But yeah, and then on the way back to the car, there's like these dudes that were Facebook. Some lady was Facebook living, just walking down the street.
She
Um,
was standing at the bus stop a block and a half away from the actual like touristy part and had already started her Facebook Live and was narrating over it. It was the most. I literally looked at Dad and said, "I hate society. I hate the society we live in."
like Hollywood,
I bet both people that were
Hollywood.
watching were very excited.
Well, I mean, if she has a lot of followers, then we were on her Facebook Live because she walked right by us. We should have been like, "Hey, ma'am, we're from the Colby Cast. Can we do an impromptu episode for you?"
Yeah,
That would,
exactly.
yeah. But anyway, it was fun. It was a fun experience. Let's talk about the movie because this is the first time I have ever seen this movie. I had previously talked about, I think I shared that I saw like the second half of this movie in a hotel room for a hockey tournament that we were in like maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Half paid attention to it. I didn't remember enough for it to ruin my experience seeing it in the theater. And that's my experience with it. When was the first time you guys saw this movie? Because I know both of you have seen it prior to this.
Um, I don't remember my first time seeing it. It was probably on my phone though.
That is an absolute travesty.
I'm not
Are you?
kidding. Oh,
I
I'm
know
pretty
you're
sure.
not kidding.
I'm pretty sure I watched a lot of movies my senior year of high school on my phone just because I wasn't doing anything in class. Um, and
I'm so glad you're going to university in a couple weeks because
yeah,
after that sentence, like, yeah,
I don't remember when I first saw it, but I know I saw it in our living room. I don't know if I just didn't have anything doing that day, but because I haven't seen so many of like the classic films, whether it's like legitimately classic or just highly rated uh, uh, pop culture classic, stuff like that. It was definitely one that I wanted to watch that was on my quote unquote list. Um, and I remember watching it and having to stop it for half a second and then being able to just pick it up right then and there and thinking, I totally wish I would have seen this in theaters. So when we went, I was super, super, super excited, and I don't get excited to go to movie theaters anymore.
Yeah, I remember after we bought the tickets, you're like, I'm legitimately excited for this and to go to a theater. That's pretty cool. So with that being said, I mean, what are your thoughts on this movie in general? I do believe I have heard you both say that you both really love this movie.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. I'm a big space guy. I'm a big Christopher Nolan guy. I'm a big Matthew McConaughey guy. So it checks all those boxes.
What were
Caleb,
the first four words I said to you as we left the theater after I said I have to pee?
I done pooped myself.
it, well, I think, well, I know what you said to me while we were still sitting in the seats. I don't know if this is after we left the theater, but you said something about this is a 10 out of 10 movie. Is
Yep,
that
I
four
said that's a
words?
10. That's a 10. That's exactly what I said.
That's 10.
Exactly
Well,
what I
that's
was
three
trying to pull out
words.
of you.
That's
Huh?
three words. That's three words.
Okay, they're 4, one's a contraction. I said that is a 10. It also wasn't, "Excuse me, professor, that is a 10 out of 10 film?"
So
Yeah,
you're saying that this is a perfect movie
I have a feeble mind,
for
so I'm
you.
not one looking at, like the critics side of everything, but it is an incredible film that I personally wouldn't change a thing and wouldn't get tired of watching. I feel like if I watched it again, I don't I you know me, I don't like watching or doing the same things too many times. Um, but that is definitely something I could enjoy for eternity.
I think my response to you when you said this is a 10, um, I think my response was something along the lines of I don't know what a perfect movie is, but that might be a perfect movie. I think it is. From my perspective, for first of all, the theater experience with this movie was 10 out of 10. Like the screen size being on IMAX and the sound. This is the second IMAX movie that I've seen, and it happens to be another Christopher Nolan movie because I saw Oppenheimer was the only other IMAX movie I've seen. And in both cases, the sound coupled with the visuals was just overwhelming in a good way, like in a really good way. So yeah, 10 out of 10 theater experience, but the movie itself also in many ways was overwhelming for me.
I saw Madam Web in IMAX.
You went and saw Madam Web in IMAX.
Yep.
Did you do that because one of your friends made you?
I think it was just a mutual agreement. I'm probably gonna go watch Craven the Hunter in IMAX too.
I was going to ask you guys if you've seen the trailer for Craven the Hunter because I didn't realize it was Craven the Hunter until like three-quarters of the way through the trailer. I'm like, wait a minute, this is the Spider-Man movie? Because it doesn't seem like a Spider-Man. Well, it's not a Spider-Man movie, but it's anyway. I don't want to get sidetracked. The trailer is doing a very hard, like it does. It's doing a lot of work to present itself like we're a movie. We're not a Spider-Man villain movie. Anyway, um, what is it about Interstellar? I have my answers, but I want to hear yours. What is it about Interstellar that makes it so good? So we've established that all three of us love the movie. But what is it for you guys that makes it? Luke, you mentioned Christopher Nolan guy, Matthew McConaughey, you like space, all that stuff. But let's get into the nuts and bolts of the movie. What are some of the scenes or some of the aspects or some of the themes, something specific or a few specific things about this film that make it so good?
I think the performances are just incredible. It's easy to be overshadowed by the fact that there's so many visually stunning things going on, but the the little intricacies of Matthew McConaughey's performance, or the way that they highlight the difference between the kids based on the video calls that they get, those things, it makes such a grand story feel so personal. And it's crazy to say this, but it does feel sort of grounded. I know that there's so many different things that are happening and it's so extravagant, but really you're just following people. And these people aren't necessarily that complicated either. The characters, and they're, Anne Hathaway's character is just, her father's the one who's masterminding all of it, so she's trying to do her job the best that she can for him, but she's also in love with another astronaut, and Matthew McConaughey is trying to do this to save his planet, to save his kids, and it's not overly complicated. Even what's the robot's name?
Tars.
Tars. Even Tars, like those performances, they just, to me, they tie all of it together, because it makes something that feels so difficult to understand feel very personal and relatable.
I have something to say about the performances, but I want to hear what Caleb has to say first about this, and then I'll get into my jibber jabbering.
I'm just gonna jump on both descriptions that you guys added already. Overwhelming but grounded. I feel like the quality of the story, the acting, the story, all of it is just so, so, so top tier. The score, the visuals, the explanations without being like in your face that they're trying to explain everything to you, the story building behind it, like just the like if you really wanted to dissect it frame by frame by frame, you could be there for a very long time. One, because it's a really long movie, but there's just so much going on all the time. There's callbacks throughout the movies. So, because everything is just of such high quality, it is overwhelming. When we were seated on like the left side of the theater, not on the center or on the left side of the theater. The audio is so loud, all the seats shook, and for like the first I don't know if you felt like this, Dad. For like the first like 6 minutes of the movie, it's like it has this like extra like reverb behind all of the words and audio, and I could only feel it on like my left ear because that was the side that was closest to the wall. But I was literally thinking either the audio's broken and I'm gonna have to leave because my brain is going to just turn into liquid and melt out of my ears, or I forget how it's supposed to like sort of put you on edge as the story starts, and then that sound went away until again it's trying to put you on edge as like the plot thickens throughout the movie. And for me, that was literally overwhelming, but that's just like the movie experience that you lose when you don't watch it in the theater. So, um, because of that, that was to me a perfect example of like the overwhelming things that just the quality of the sound and like an underlying sound of the beginning of the movie can do for you. Um, but yeah, did you feel that way for like the first portion?
I didn't have the exact same experience that you just described, but I can tell you that overall, through the whole movie, some of the sound, I lost a little dialogue in the enormity of the sound because there's some parts. One other thing that makes this movie as overwhelming as it is, in my opinion, is the use of sound. And I think this is a Christopher Nolan thing because I remember saying the same thing about Oppenheimer. Um, there are parts of the movie that are so loud because we're dealing with spaceships and rockets and sort of just, in the action scenes, you've just got loud things happening and the sound is excellent. But in those moments, if there was some dialogue, I seem to lose a line or two, especially from Tars and the other robots. I think it's Case, and I can't remember what the third one is, but Uh, Sometimes because they have very soothing, sort of not monotonous, because they do emote through their voices, but it's just sort of like the voices coming through those robots are not loud, right? So sometimes when there would be rockets firing and there's dialogue from the robots, I would lose that a little bit. But then juxtapose that against like the absolute silence that exists in this film for other reasons, for just, you know, whatever reasons that might be. When you have the two of them going back and forth, that was so jarring to me. But again, it contributed to the experience. It wasn't something I didn't enjoy. It was just, you're supposed to feel that way, I think. And that's Christopher Nolan using sound to help tell the story. So in that way, I know exactly what you're talking about. But
Well,
Luke, you
then
mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
on Luke's word of grounded, like they talk about it in the building of the story, how it's a world of caretakers now, not trying to be like engineers and like be,
Explorers.
yeah, not trying to create anything new. They're trying to survive. And that immediately grounds you to the earth that is turning on them, right? So it tries to attach you and raise the stakes at the same time. Um and I just think that's so like subtle in the way that they introduce the different factors that play into the characters' lives to an audience that, I mean, for a lot of the people that are going, yourself, Semi included, they've already seen the film. They know exactly what's going to happen. But like we talked about this already, but there was a collective sniffle, gasp,
Yeah.
groan, like the just the impact all of these little things have on the human emotion is insane.
Well, I'm glad you both brought up that aspect of the story, because you know the it's really set against like this epic in scope story where you have literally our planet is dying. So it's taking place in our reality. This isn't like Star Wars with its own rules that we're introduced to. The movie plays by our rules, rules that we live with every single day, right? Um, this isn't this is science fiction rooted in our reality. It takes place on Earth. Earth is dying. The human race is threatened. Then you've got like this relative, what is the word I'm looking for? Relativity, time, space questions, intergalactic travel, wormholes, black holes, all of this epic kind of plot details. And to me, none of that means anything unless you have the people, the characters, and the connections that they have to give this story importance. Like, who cares if a planet is no longer inhabitable? Well, we all should care because people that we love are affected, right? So that's to me what makes the story and the movie um so next level, right? It's you can take away all the spectacle. The spectacle doesn't mean anything because the whole point of the movie, in my opinion, and there's a few themes here, right? And there's different themes in the movie, but the point of the movie is love, the
Yep.
love that we have for each other. And I think that uh, it may be my favorite scene of the movie is Anne Hathaway's Dr. Brand's sort of her monologue on love when they're deciding whether they need to go to Man's planet or Edmund's planet, and she says something to the effect of love may be the only thing that we are able to perceive that can transcend space and time. And and then they have the sort of debate like what's love is quantifiable, what's the point? And they say, oh, there's social this and that and child rearing, and like her answer to that was, why do we love someone who's died? right? Just because we've lost someone doesn't mean that we've lost that love for them. And that to me was just absolutely gripping and captivating. I'm sure that, that's a very popular scene in the movie, but having seen it for the first time, I went back the next day and I rewatched a couple scenes just so I could refresh my memory, because thankfully it's you can stream it on Paramount Plus. So I looked at it, and that's one of the scenes I wanted to rewatch was her speech on love, because that's what gives the whole story meaning. And without that aspect of it, I don't think that you have the same. I don't think you have the same movie.
I agree. And it's not even just the love that like she had for Wolf. It's not even just the love that Coop had for Murph or anything like that. It was also like Matt Damon's character had a love for science, had a love for exploration, had a like undying love and need to survive and like be the one to discover and save the human race and all that. And like just the underlying tones of everything are just why this movie's so great, because it can be just focused in on love, but it can be so many other things too.
One of the well, I mean, the we've established, the characters are important, the story is magnificent, but one of the other reasons why I think that this is just a perfect movie is it doesn't stop there. Like, Christopher Nolan is so ambitious with this that he takes the story into space, and we've got, this wormhole and this black hole idea. Um, the visuals in the movie were so stunning to me. And Luke, I want to know if there's, any certain visuals that you just sort of can't shake out of your mind, because for me, the wormhole is I can't wrap my head around how they made that wormhole scene. It was so overwhelming to me.
Yeah, that one, of course, and then Tars is talking to him the whole time and sort of explaining to him and the audience how all of this is working and whatnot. But that one is incredible. I think the scene with the massive waves when they're on that planet is unbelievable. And I think it's also one of the most important segments of the movie because they lose something like 20 years while they're down there.
Yep.
Um, that one's incredible. I really, really like the scene of what's the name of their massive ship?
Oh, the endurance, I think.
The Endurance. Yeah, where
Yeah.
part of the Endurance is destroyed because of um, what
Matt
would you
Damon's
say his name
character,
was? Wolf? No,
Dr.
no, no,
Man.
Doctor Man. Yeah, Wolf died. Um, but Doctor Man going up there and trying to get in there, all of those scenes, they're so like, you brought up the silence, and part of it is the silence in contrast to how incredible the score is. So when you have that, it it throws you off, and it really grips your attention.
Yeah, and how about the fact that like there were just alarms going off the entire time, and they're trying to warn him like, please do not try to dock, please do not try to open the hatch, and just trying to explain to him like, don't do that. And then he does it, and then it gets really loud to absolute silence for the first time in the entire movie.
I literally jumped in my seat when that airlock like burst or whatever,
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
because it went from loud to quiet to overly loud and then quiet again. Yeah, so I want to talk about the score too, but I don't want to jump off the visuals quite yet, because
Yeah.
go ahead, Caleb.
Have you heard like how long it took to render a scientifically accurate black hole for the movie?
No, I haven't.
It is 100 hours per frame.
Oh my lord.
And it said the entire movie was about 800 terabytes of data.
That's ridiculous.
Yep. It says that the black hole in Interstellar was created using a year of work by 30 people and thousands of computers to get a scientifically accurate black hole.
Yeah, and the science part of it to me, I turned that part of my brain off because number one, I'm not a science person. So that was one of the reasons why I don't know that I went running to go see this movie, was because that part I think is a little intimidating, was a little intimidating for me.
Yeah.
But I recently saw The Big Short, and I was also worried that I wouldn't really follow the financial ins and outs of that movie because it's all about the housing collapse in 2008. But that movie was very effective in explaining to the layman what you need to know about why this is important to the movie. And I think that Interstellar did the same thing with the science part. And one of the scenes that stood out to me was when Romley is explaining what a wormhole does to Coop, and he
Yeah.
gets the piece of paper right, and he draws point A and point B, but then he folds the paper and punches a hole through. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm not going to say I understand the physics or whatever of a wormhole, but that is a very simple explanation. So I thought that was very effective.
I'm glad you brought that up too, is because like the other thing that just captivates me in this movie is the sacrifices of a parent. And it's not necessarily just Coop's sacrifice of being a parent, but it's the opposite. It's I found my calling, so I'm going to follow my calling and forget my children. But also the motivation is I want to save my children because their planet is dying. And that comes up so frequently while he's gone.
Yeah, the moral paradoxes that were coming up in this movie were super intriguing to me. You have, like Brand wants to go to Edmund not only because his data suggest that his planet is viable for life, but she also loves him. Then you've got Matt Damon, who wants to finish the mission. And I remember having a conversation. Luke, I was a little confused at that part. Like, I didn't understand why Dr. Mann was trying to kill Dr. Cooper. So thankfully, Caleb understood it. And, he basically had like this hero complex, right? He wanted to finish the mission because he knew his planet wasn't viable. So he wanted to continue on so he could find a planet that was viable. But he went to the extreme because he had a conflict with Cooper, because Cooper wanted to go home, right? Because Cooper is motivated, Caleb, like you said, he he not only wants to save his children, but he wants to see them again. So, yeah, all that was all just very interesting, just juxtaposed against all these visually breathtaking things. And to see it in an IMAX screen was something else. Luke, I highly recommend, if you ever have a chance to see Interstellar on a screen bigger than your phone, you should take that opportunity.
I watched it on my TV.
That's very good. That's very good. You mentioned the score though, Luke, and you said, like, talking about how the score works with the sound. Uh, Talk to me about the score, because to me the score is so haunting on purpose. But I'll reserve my thoughts until after you say what you have to say.
Yeah, it's so good. I think good scores add to whatever's going on in the scene, but great scores sort of influence it. You know, um, I I think of as Dune 2 as a very good way to add to what is already good. Um, but Interstellar, almost like, the score is almost even more important. Hearing it is almost more important than what you're seeing. Like the piano while they're in the wormhole. That it Who thinks of that? Who does that?
Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer is the one that thought of that.
Yeah, and just the duality of so much of it, it keeps you on your toes, but it doesn't it doesn't insist upon itself, which I say intently arrogant. Um, but it it's so hard because you're feeling so many emotions already because you're connected to the story and the characters, and visually it's so appealing, but the sound of it all, it's it's almost overwhelming while still being reassuring.
One of the things that this score does, and one of the reasons why I mentioned it being haunting, is in certain places, especially in the beginning, I noticed it almost, to me anyway, and I'll be interested to hear if you guys feel any of this. The visuals coupled with the score almost makes me feel like this detached observer rather than being invested in the story. I felt like I was completely removed and just watching, like in a completely disconnected way. And it was because in certain places there's no sound, but there's score. So you have images and you have music, but you have no sound. And the score at in those moments to me made me feel like I was like the watcher in the MCU, where you're literally just watching, but you're not going to interact emotionally or invest at all. Did you guys get any of those, or is that just me?
I think I felt that in the wormhole scene. I felt very engaged and felt like I was part of it, especially when they came back to Earth. When they show Eric Foreman as the
Oh yeah, the doctor.
doctor. Yeah,
No, he's
that stuff.
Venom. That's not Eric Foreman. That's Venom.
You're right. You're right. That's Venom. I think that was sort of where I felt engaged and like I was part of it all. But I agree with you. They talk about those beings in the wormhole that are communicating to TARS, right?
Yeah.
Um, I almost felt like one of those because I felt like I understood a little bit more of what was happening and what was going to happen than Matthew McConaughey's character. And that sort of gave me the reassurance that everything was going to be okay. Whereas he's still confused and lost in it all. But then when he's communicating to Murph through the books, that is where I felt like I was part of the story again.
Yeah, I see. That's my point. It almost like makes you feel detached from it, and then it brings you back in and back out and back in. Caleb, one of the things that you didn't, we don't really talk in movie theaters because we're not like that. But one of
No.
the things that you did say was when they were in that on that water planet, and the score included like a ticking of a clock,
Yeah. As soon
and
as they
you mentioned that.
Yeah, as soon as they touch ground, it starts to like every second on the top of the second, it ticked. And it was just to
Yeah.
remind you that every hour is 7 years in relativity. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because when they get back to the ship after the chaos that ensued, they look at what's the character's name that stayed behind?
Romley.
Romley was the one who was studying
Up
Gargantua.
in the endure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The one, yeah.
Yeah, Anne Hathaway's character goes up to him and goes, "Why didn't you sleep?" It's like, I've been waiting years. I'd lost all hope." Could you
Yeah.
imagine that?
No, like it's like 20, 23, 25 years he was there by
Yeah.
himself.
Could you imagine just being in space, trying to find purpose and in hopes that they ever come back?
I can't. I thought about that, and I don't know how you don't go absolutely insane.
And then that
Uh,
scene after that, talk about you're talking about the just the complexity that comes across with sounds. A part of sound is like words, and just seeing Coop's son just give up on him and saying like, "Yeah, my wife says I need to stop, like need to give up on you," and immediately you see Murph back on the screen, and just the eeriness of all of that, just so crazy.
Yeah, it's a very there's a lot of profound ideas in this movie, and moments. Um, so let's get to our final thoughts. I'm gonna lead off with the three scenes that I cried during, and I want to know if you guys can guess which ones. I think you can't cheat, Caleb, because I may have mentioned one or two already, but there were three. I
Well,
remember
I
which they were. I wrote them down.
I was there with you. I can't participate.
And I will say that I'm not ashamed because everyone in the theater was crying with me.
Someone was cutting onions by me, but I didn't cry.
All right, so Luke, since Caleb knows, which scenes do you think I cried during?
I want to say you cried when he left and Murph was screaming, "Don't go, don't leave, don't leave."
Well, I yes, that's correct, and what really got me was when he was yelling, "Don't don't let me leave like this."
Yeah.
When he was saying
Yeah,
that to her, "Don't let me leave like this." Oh, that got me.
you cried when the bookshelf scene.
Surprisingly, no.
Oh, that is surprising. Um,
One of them is very, very, very obvious.
you cried when he sees old Murph.
Okay, yes, that one was not the obvious one, but yeah, on her deathbed, yes,
Hmm.
that got me.
And then, hmm, how am I? Is she saying it's obvious? Now you got me overthinking.
It's literally an internet meme.
Oh,
Matthew
is it where
McConaughey.
he's what? Yeah, he's watching the screen of his all the years passing of his kids.
Yeah, when he's watching that message from his son, and yeah,
Yeah,
he basically realizes he's lost like all this time.
Hmm.
And that's just Matthew McConaughey's performance in that moment. Like he's unabashedly just giving himself into that moment and just visually expressing what everybody would feel at that loss of his children's childhood, right? Uh, so yeah, that good job, well done. I guess I'm very predictable. I should just cry at other random things.
Like right now, go.
Yeah.
You know what I learned today? And not even in preparation with this, it was just a thing that I heard on a podcast. No free ads, so I won't mention what podcast. Um, Matthew McConaughey was getting paid way more than other actors were in the rom-com world because he was so popular in them that he literally was rejecting like $15 million deals because he was just trying to send a message to like Hollywood saying, I'm done doing these movies. I need to have some purpose. I need to have something where like it's not just some cookie cutter bubblegum type acting. I want to have something real. And he went and had, I forgot what movie it was that set off his career after that, not including rom coms, but like, could you imagine that? Like, you've worked your entire life to be an actor, and now you're just stuck in this type of role that you don't want to do, and you
Yeah,
almost just sabotage your own career. Look where it got
yeah. Now he's doing Uber Eats commercials.
him.
Well, that's everything I got. This is an incredible experience, a great movie. I'm super glad that I could just like the next day just pull it up on streaming and watch it on Paramount Plus, because sometimes when you see a great movie, you just want to relive some of those moments, just for your own benefit. So being able to do that was pretty cool. One thing I did forget to mention was that the re-release was only in select theaters. It wasn't like a wide release. It made $4.5 million over the 5 day uh, run.
That's
And
crazy.
when we were looking for tickets, we had to be very selective. Our first choice was not going down into Hollywood to watch it. You know, we like to, like I said to you that day, get me back to my valley. I want to go back to my valley. We like to stay here. So, but yeah, there were no seats. There were no seats, and we were able to get some down in the TCL Chinese Theater. So that was good. All right. Well, that's everything I have. You guys have anything that we haven't gotten to that you wanted to talk about?
Anne Hathaway's character is the worst.
What?
No, I disagree.
No, she's the worst.
You're wrong. You're a hater.
Why?
Because she's always doing the wrong thing. Just listen to Matthew
She
McConaughey.
she was literally right. Because of her, they were able to get off of their dying planet. If they would have gone to Wolf's planet, they wouldn't have had the whole issue they had after. I mean, whatever. It kind of had to happen that way. But the planet that she wanted to go to with Wolf was her idea, and they went with Matthew McConaughey's instead.
She's literally the heart of the movie, in my opinion. She's the
Womp,
heart.
womp, womp. I'm not listening. Blah, blah, blah.
Final thoughts, Caleb?
Luke has no brain. Luke is lost all credibility. This movie is the Rolls Royce of the movie theaters and the movies. It is top tier, untouchable, and I would absolutely watch it again in theaters.
And that's coming from somebody who doesn't like to go to theaters. So, all right, well, that's fantastic. I thank you guys for number one. Thanks for remembering that it came out because I had completely forgotten. So I did want to go see this in theaters. Caleb, you reminded me, and we were able to make it happen. Luke, I'm glad that you had watched it recently enough to be able to have a coherent discussion. If that's what we just had, the
I
jury's
wouldn't
out.
call anything we do coherent.
That's a good point. Yeah, so thanks for having this chat with me. I appreciate it, and everybody out there, thank you for listening. What do you think about Interstellar? When was the last time you watched it, and did you have an opportunity to go watch it in theaters on its re-release? Let us know. Find us on all the socials out there. So that's going to do it for this episode. For Caleb and for Luke, this is Colby reminding you: do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know. You can find the Colbycast on Instagram, Threads, and X at the Colbycast. Episodes can also be found on YouTube, so like and subscribe. If you feel so inclined, rate and review our show on your podcatcher of choice. That really helps the show beat the algorithm and helps us find new friends to add to the conversation. If you're wordy, like me, you can send an email to thecolbycast@gmail.com. All music is licensed through Adobe Stock and performed by Pro Music 24. This podcast is not endorsed by anyone or anything for that matter. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Colbycast unless otherwise indicated.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.